Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula One. And my oh my, the Qatar Grand Prix has come to a close. And what could be said about that race? Incredibly boring. Wasn't much about it. I actually forgot there was a sprint race this weekend. That's how dull it's been. But, you know, for the championship protagonist, it's all got just that little bit more spicy, hasn't it? Going into the final round in Abu Dhabi next week. So if you've never seen this series before, I want the drivers out maximum 10 points based on overall race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if it's a particularly bad one. As this is a sprint race, normally I award bonus points of up to 3 added to the additional score that I award for the entirety of the weekend. But as this weekend I felt that nothing impressive happened in that Qatar sprint whatsoever, I'm not doing that. So you can forget about that rule. The drivers will just be getting their standard 10 to 0 and vice versa throughout this episode. We'll take a look at the current Crawl Room standings then going into this, shall we? It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver currently is right now, and based on how well they did this weekend, can you see them going up? Can you see them going down? George Russell looks like he has one hand on this Crawl Room Championship, but as you are well aware, anything can change on here. Anything can happen. So he doesn't want to be counting his chickens just yet, but he looks quite comfortable, doesn't he? There's a lot of scrabbling and battling for those final podium places, though, on this series going into the final round. Some drivers having a really good weekend this weekend. Some drivers having a particularly bad one. So it could be all change come Abu Dhabi. We'll take a look at the team standings as well then, shall we, while we're here in May as well, haven't we? As you can see, the teams have got some minus points and some plus points at the side of them. They will be added and deducted at the final round in Abu Dhabi next week. So at the moment, have a look and see where your favourite team is. Then take a look, see if they've got any minus points. And if they have, you know, they'll be tumbling down the order slightly or quite significantly in the case of some. Of course, the team standings are awarded cumulatively of what the drivers have scored. If they have a disqualified driver in this series, then unfortunately they're a one-man band at the moment. So that's why they'll be a little bit lower as others. And of course, as you can see, I can score the teams independently as well and do what I wish, basically, on here. Because it's my series, and I do what I want. So without further ado then, shall we kick things off with the race winner? I think we shall. It's Max Verstappen. Oh my God. We're taking it to Abu Dhabi, lads. We are taking it to Abu Dhabi. I cannot believe it. The sprint race for Max, he lost out to a couple of points to Piastri, lost out to a point against Lando Norris as well by finishing 4th in the sprint. Didn't have a great qualifying, only lined up 6th. However, the main race itself, he lined himself up inside the top 3, only behind those 2 pesky McLarens. And he was looking like he was going to be a 3rd place finisher, wasn't he? But then we had the safety car intervention for the contact between Nico Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly, and the McLarens elected not to stop. But everyone else did. Great. Well done, team. So that meant, of course, that Max Verstappen then took the lead once the McLarens pitted, and took the lead once again once the McLarens pitted for their 2nd stop. Both McLarens having to do pit stops under green flag conditions, whereas the rest of the field had managed to get 1 pit stop under safety car conditions and didn't really lose any positions out as a result. So yeah, Max Verstappen romped to victory from there and didn't look back, did he? So congratulations to Max Verstappen for another stunning weekend. Now only 12 points behind Lando Norris for this title. That means that if Max wins in Abu Dhabi, Lando Norris needs to finish 4th or lower. It's doable, because it just happened in this race, didn't it? But, you know, let's see how it goes. We need to get the Mercedes up there. Ferrari are a lost cause now. So, yeah, it's maybe looking a little bit of a challenge. But, you know, for me, Max Verstappen, if anyone can do it, it's going to be him. Lando may well bottle it. Oscar may well decide that, look, I'm out of the championship fight now, and I don't really fancy my teammate winning it. So he may end up inadvertently helping Max. Who knows? That's all to play for next week. But for Max Verstappen this weekend, keeping himself in this championship fight, even after the sprint when it looked unlikely, like, oh, 25 points the gap now. If Lando outscores him, it's over. And he ends up turning that 25 points into 12. What a stunning effort. And I'm just going to say it again. Had he not done what he did in Spain, that would be 3 points the gap now. Just 3. It'd have been any position pretty much that Max finished and Lando was behind him, he'd have won it. So yeah, makes it a little bit more complicated, doesn't it, that? But yeah, you know my rule and regime that I put in at Las Vegas. If Max Verstappen loses this title fight by less than 9, he will be disqualified on the series. So Max, you need to either go out there and win it in Abu Dhabi or have a shocking weekend and finish well outside the points, or, you know, behind Lando, so you don't lose out on whatever position you'll get in the crawl room. But for now, for me, this weekend for him is 12 points. He's getting 2 additional bonus points for a phenomenal, incredible weekend and for slashing the gap to just 12 points to Lando Norris. It was 109 points behind Oscar Piastri after Zandvoort. He's now only 12 behind Lando Norris. That driver that he was 109 points behind, he is now 4 points ahead of. It's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? Max Verstappen, what a fantastic driver. What a great asset to the championship he has been this year, aside from Spain, because without him this series and this Formula One season would have been pathetic. It would have been. Thank you, Max Verstappen, for bringing some spice and flavour into a very dull, oh, can you let your teammate pass, please, kind of championship. 12 to Max Verstappen. Second place, we come to Oscar Pastry. What's your favourite pastry? And just like everyone else in this Crawl Room Championship, once they get disqualified, they book their ideas up, don't they? Can't score him any points, though. Can't score him any points. He had a run of shit form of 6 races where he was just getting off the week, and then a disqualification. He was absolutely dog shit. This time around, though, found his feet. Got pole in the sprint, got pole in the main race, but unfortunately came unstuck when it came to pitting under green flag conditions for 2 pit stops. That wasn't his mistake, that was very much a team error. And the fact that he is here in second place, trying to do his very best to keep his own championship alive, I think is a fair effort. At the measure of his teammate Lando this weekend, would have won the race had it not been for the shit strategy by McLaren. But yeah, found his feet, but too little too late, isn't it? And this proves it now. You had a 34-point gap over your teammate after Zandvoort, and you managed to erode it away to the point where now you need to win races to stay in the championship fight. He's mathematically still entitled. He's 16 points behind Lando. And of course, there's permutations as well as to where Max finishes if Lando retires and things, because Max is a few points ahead of him. So it's more unlikely. I'm not saying it's impossible, but they really need to sort themselves out at McLaren now and get an action plan going into it, because Oscar's going to want to try and win this, and I think he would rather see Max win it than Lando, with how it's happened this year, how it's all unfolded with the team dynamics and can you let this car through and can you do this and can you do that, please. Had it not been for all of that, I've not sat down and worked it out yet, but it's happened on a few occasions this season. If they'd have just left rules as rules and, you know, Oscar giving the win up at Monza, that's 7 points there, isn't it? So, you know, there's loads of different permutations where if McLaren hadn't have interfered, Oscar could have been a lot better off, maybe worse off. I need to sit down and work it out. But yeah, I think if Oscar is going into this Abu Dhabi fight as my title chances are realistically over, I need Max and Lando to crash into each other kind of mode, I think he would sooner try and see that unfold. Then if it doesn't happen, he's going to be like, right, I'd sooner have Max win it then. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah, I can't imagine it's very happy camp at the McLaren team at the moment. They've thrown a victory away for Oscar. They've potentially thrown his title fight away as well with that team error of pitting him, or not pitting him under the safety car. But for Oscar Piastri, can't talk about him anymore. He's disqualified anyway, so can't score any points. And that's that. In third place, we come to Carlos Sainz, smooth operator, smooth operator. Oh, you saucy bitch. I can't believe it. 2 podiums for Carlos Sainz this season in that Williams. His first came in Baku, of course. And here he is securing yet another incredible podium position and was there on merit all weekend long again. Qualified himself inside the top 5. Got ahead of George Russell at the start, wasn't it? And then was able, of course, to stay ahead of Lando Norris in the closing stages. Had the likes of Antonelli behind him as well, who he was able to fend off. These B-team cars, if they have a great qualifying, they just really do well, don't they? You know, they have a great qualifying and they're able to stay in those positions now. It's just that sometimes they don't have that individual one-lap pace to get themselves any higher than, like, the top 7. And then that means they're only ever going to fight for that because the other pack break away. But when they're up there, they stay up there, and that's incredible. So yeah, for me personally, for Carlos Sainz, I would love to give him 15 points, but I can't because he's disqualified. if you'd have turned to me when I disqualified him on this series, which was quite early on for poor performances, and said he's going to get 2 podiums, he's going to get a load of points, he's going to effectively, this result now secures Williams of 5th in the Constructors' Championship. Doesn't matter what happens, RB can get a 1-2 and Williams score nothing. The points deficit is too large now. Fantastic effort by Carlos Sainz this weekend, personally for me. Did a stunning job. It's a well-deserved podium. Can't score any points because he's disqualified. But yeah, as a team effort between Alex and Carlos, they have secured that team 5th in the Constructors' Championship, meaning they can put their feet up and relax for the final race, but they're still going to want to deliver some more results and impressive performances at the end. And let's hope that, Williams can get into that championship fight, get involved, get in there and get stuck in and try and knock a McLaren down a peg or two. We'll see. But for now, Carlos Sainz, stunning performance. Shame I can't score him any points. In 4th place, we come to Lando Norris. Oh my God, it's crumbling, isn't it? It's crumbling, guys. I can't believe it. What looked like he was going to be on the brink of the championship in Qatar ends up being a disaster, and he's eroded 13 points away, and now we are just 12 points ahead in the championship against Max Verstappen, who is simply unstoppable at the moment. If they cross the line as they are today, with Max winning, Oscar 2nd and Lando in 4th, that's the championship to Max by 1 point. So they can't afford to have this happen again, can they? So, yeah, going to be a really interesting one to see how Abu Dhabi plays out. The dynamic of it, like I said, the Mercedes getting involved, hopefully, fingers crossed. They were sort of a little bit vacant this weekend, weren't they? And, of course, the Ferraris, God knows where they've gone to, but they're somewhere. And if we can get a B-team runner that gets into the mix after a great qualifying, it's not a done deal, is it? It's still quite handy for Lando, because if he just finishes on the podium, which, let's be realistic, is where that McLaren car should always finish, he should be all right. But, yeah, fingers crossed anyway. Fingers crossed. Come on, Max. Come on. But, yeah, for Lando Norris, for me, he was screwed by the strategy, wasn't he? But he didn't have the pace to try and get 2nd place or 3rd place. He was lucky he got 4th at the end there, because he was running around in 5th for a lot of it. Couldn't get past Antonelli. Antonelli then made a mistake and went wide, and that's what got him through. Had it not been for that, it'd have been only 10 points ahead. So, yeah, it's all crazy, isn't it? But yeah, for me personally, for Lando Norris, I've got him a solid 7. He survives on this championship. But remember, if he doesn't win in Abu Dhabi, doesn't win the championship, he gets disqualified. So there's lots of permutations now. But yeah, let's wait and see how it all gets on. But for me personally, for Lando this weekend, screwed by the strategy, but didn't have the pace for his teammate, and should have still finished 3rd if his teammate could manage 2nd. As it was, he was lucky to finish 4th. 7 to Lando, couple of sympathy points there for me personally, for a disastrous strategy by McLaren. In 5th place, we come to Andrea Kimi Antonelli. His race weekend was solid once again. Better overall than George this weekend once again as well. Let's not forget that. Had the measure of his teammate these last couple of races. And that's a fair play, fair effort. I'm going to mention it now though. What the fuck is all this about? Helmut Marko saying that Antonelli did that on purpose to let Lando through. And why on earth is he getting so much hate now on social media to the point he's come off his Instagram? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What is wrong with people? Like, do you really expect Antonelli to let Lando through when they're trying to fight for 2nd in the Constructors' Championship against the likes of Ferrari and Red Bull? They need every point possible for that. And I find it ridiculous that anyone thinks that Antonelli deliberately let Lando through. The way that Max has the relationship with Antonelli, you would have thought that if any which way, it'd have been Antonelli more desperate to keep Lando behind him. Fucking idiots. I don't get it at all. I know there's some conspiracy, and I'll throw some conspiracy theories out there quite a bit, and I'm going to do one in a minute. But Antonelli this weekend drove really well, solidly. Yes, he made that mistake. Yes, Lando slipped through. Lando was very lucky that that happened. But there was no way Antonelli just let him through. No way at all. For me personally, for Antonelli this weekend, it's a shame his weekend has been clouded by this absolute horseshit that's fallen out of Helmut Marko's mouth, and then the deluded Max Verstappen brigade jump on board and think it's a conspiracy because you're fucking idiots. Watch the onboard from Lando. Antonelli was lucky not to spin it off, to be honest. He had a right snap and nearly lost it. So, yeah, he wouldn't do that on purpose, would he? He'd just let him down on a DRS straight, just lift off a little bit, let him get in DRS and let him have an easy overtake. That's how you do it if you're going to let someone through. But yeah, Antonelli this weekend, sort of Mars his weekend for what was solid, you know, beating his teammates solidly, had some good racing in the sprint, had some great racing in the main race itself as well. Made a mistake, but that's racing. That's what it's all about. And it's a solid 7 for me, personally, for Antonelli this weekend. Maybe harsh by a point there, but, you know, the error has to be punished for the fact it was an error that cost the team a couple of extra points. Looking likely that Mercedes will finish second in the Constructors. But, yeah, disappointing to see the actions and behaviours of certain fans once again. And yeah, I'm rooting for Max all day long. I think he deserves it this season after McLaren have dropped the ball so many times. But don't go fucking slagging off other drivers, for God's sake, and accusing them of cheating. Like, what on earth are you playing at? So yeah, solid 7 to Antonelli. It's ridiculous he's getting shat on, though. And then we come to George of the Russell. No top 5 again. What do I think about George Russell? Well, my conspiracy theory is, isn't it funny... Isn't it funny how, ever since this championship fight has been edging closer and closer to looking like Max has a realistic chance, George of the Russell has been slipping further down the order? Just saying, British bias and all that lot. Is George Russell trying to keep out of the championship fight and let it play out any which way it can? George Russell this weekend with the likes of 2 McLarens screwing up pit stop strategies to having to do 2 stops under green flags, and they've all got it under 1 stop. You know, they've effectively got 1 stop for free. George of the Russell would be there to finish in 2nd place normally, wouldn't he? But here he is, finishing behind both McLarens and his teammate, and a poor weekend's performance. I know he got held up by the likes of Alonso and Adjar in the race at certain stages, and of course stuck behind Carlos Sainz as well. But George of the Russell, for me personally, it's a difficult one, isn't it? He's been very vacant these last few races, and when you put the pieces together, I don't think he's really finished ahead of Lando much, to be honest with you, these last few races, and Lando's dropped the ball quite a few times. So yeah, it's an interesting one for me. I'm not calling it a full-on conspiracy theorist, but it does make me wonder, is his dip in performance because he doesn't want to get involved in the championship fight and he's just going to let them play out amongst themselves? Be interesting to see what happens in Abu Dhabi, but it's weird how he's just gone vacant these last couple of races. Still enough to finish inside the points and not have his disastrous end to a season like he usually does, but still not be there where he should be. You know, finishing behind Antonelli a couple of race weekends total now. You know, Brazil he was outpaced by him. Here he was outpaced by him all weekend. Little bit fishy that. Little bit fishy. I'm having a bit of a whiff for summer. But yeah, for me personally, George of the Russell this weekend gets 4 and he can thank me for them. A very vacant weekend by him. Yeah, he was held up by the likes of Alonso, Hadjar, Sainz at certain stages of the race. But I think he had the pace to get round him anyway. I just don't think he wants to get involved. That's my personal preference anyway. 4-2, George of the Russell. Securing 7th place and pretty much securing Aston Martin 8th in the team standings, we come to Fernando Alonso in that Aston farting car. Yeah, had a great qualifying in the sprint, had a great qualifying in the main race as well, of course. Did really, really well. Had a spin though, didn't he? Had a spin in that race, and he likes to do that round Qatar. He had a wild moment a couple of years back where he rejoined the track unsafely, and I don't think anyone ever got done for that. But yeah, he had a wild ride, bouncing through the gravel, doing a full pirouette, lost a couple of places to the likes of George Russell and Isaac Hadjar at the time, wasn't it? So yeah, he was looking to keep the car going, kept it going in a straight line as well, lost out on a couple of places, but in the end finishing 7th. So, for me personally, Alonso this weekend has been solid. Shame about that spin, because that definitely cost him a place, judging by how poor the performance was of Russell this weekend. And he was lucky that Hadjar had his late puncture, because he would have finished behind them as well. So, you know, it's all swings and roundabouts, as they say. But for me, for Alonso personally, I think he's rejuvenated now to see that Adrian Newey is now team principal. Fantastic effort. And it's already enveloped a fire in his belly for these last couple of races to do something special, to say to Adrian, look, have faith in me. If you deliver me a good car in 26, I can do something special with it. So, for me personally, Alonso gets a solid 8 on the board. I've had to knock a couple of points off for that spin, because it did ultimately cost him a couple of positions, which only ended up being 1 position in the end. But when he's fighting for the B team categories, he obviously lost out to Sainz, and then would have lost out to Hadjar as well, had Hadjar not had a late puncture. 8-2 Fernando Alonso. Fair play to him. Let's move on. And then we come to Sha-la-la. Oh, Sha-la-la. Where the hell have Ferrari gone? What on earth is happening? This is disgusting now. Lucky to get into Q3 and then minced around and just muggled about and just scored a few points and just never had any performance to do anything else. Did we even see anything of the Ferraris this weekend? I think not. Oh, God. So it's a solid 6 for Leclerc. I was kind of hoping they'd be in the championship battle and getting involved and, you know, being an interference and a nuisance to the likes of the McLarens. McLaren really need to consider themselves lucky that Mercedes were nowhere this weekend, really. And the fact that Ferrari were nowhere as well, because doing that pit stop like they did, they should have been behind those two teams as well and would have struggled to get through. So they need to be really fortunate that they picked a weekend to screw up where the other teams were nowhere near them. That's the luck of the draw, though, isn't it? So, yeah, for Leclerc, it's a solid 6 for me for him. Can't really talk much about his race because it was just poor. Oh, God, what's the point? And they will now finish 4th in the Constructors, won't they? They're not able. They've not got enough points tally to leapfrog Red Bull or Mercedes now for 2nd. So they have set themselves in stone for 4th in the Constructors now, which is incredibly disappointing because I had Leclerc down for a potential championship protagonist. Well, I'm left with egg on my face, aren't I? 6th to Charles Leclerc. What a disastrous weekend, and I don't think it's going to get any better in Abu Dhabi. Next up, we come to Liam Lawson in the first of the Visa Cash App Maxi Tamp on RB. Buy one, get one free. Don't forget your Altair, your Toros, or your Minardi. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Liam Lawson has long been disqualified on this series and was the first to be disqualified on this series, actually, even beating Lance Stroll. Can you believe it? Yeah, Liam Lawson picks up a couple of points. He's fortunate that Hadjar had the puncture, and he's fortunate that there was also a issue for Stroll as well towards the end, wasn't there? Because Stroll was actually running in 10th. So without that, he'd have been P11. Lucky to pick up a couple of points. But yeah, RB can now no longer catch Williams, so they're fighting for 6th in the Constructors. They could have done with Hadjar's points more than they could have done Lawson's, but at least Lawson was there to pick up some sort of pieces. But yeah, it was very much Hadjar's weekend once again. Liam Lawson looked into a couple of points. It's not good enough to maintain that seat for me personally. No doubt they will, but we'll wait and see. But for Liam Lawson, he's disqualified anyway. Can't score him any points. Let's move on. And the final points pay position goes to Yuki Tsunoda in the sexy Red Bull. He secures un point and secured a few points in the sprint. He looked to have a really good sprint, you know. Out-qualified Max there. Then obviously let him through, but was running 5th. Then got a 5-second time penalty. Would have dropped him to 6th. Antonelli got a penalty, dropped him to 6th again, so he reinstated to 5th. And you think, great, that's a good weekend overall, to be fair. Let's see if he can do it in the race itself. Qualifying comes out in Q1 again. Disaster. Absolute disaster. He could have done with being up there, and it looked like he had the pace to do so as well. So qualifying he screwed up in there, to be fair, and he could have been up there fighting and pissing around with the McLarens, annoying their weekend. But as it was, he picks up one lucky point courtesy of late problems at the end for certain drivers. He's disqualified on this series anyway, has been for a number of races. They have said that there will be news on Tuesday, which is when this video goes out, about the future of the Red Bull drivers and RB drivers and where they're going to be ranked and positioned on the grid for 2026. So we'll wait and see with bated breath if that is just a vicious rumour or whether it has actually happened or will happen after this video. But yeah, at the moment, Yuki says, I know things that I can't tell you. So does that mean he's been demoted back to RB? Staying at Red Bull? Isaac Hadjar looked quite happy but wouldn't answer questions. Is he going to Red Bull? All interesting things to be revealed soon, isn't it? But for Yuki Tsunoda, picks up a few points this weekend. It's all that's really expected of him, but I still think there was more in it this weekend by him, and he fluffed up. Just outside the points, we come to Alexander Albon in the second of the Williams.
It was clear I was never going to be the favourite Sebastian within the Toro Rosso squad. But that first year I had the capability of so much more, but just never had the luck.
And there we have it, I'm afraid, for Alexander Albon. It is Sebastian Bourdais of the week to him. What a shame. What a shame. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm awarding him yet another of the week. But unfortunately, it has to be. His teammates up there securing podium positions. And he picked up a point in the sprint as well, I believe, didn't he, did Carlos? Unfortunately, this weekend, Alex Albon absent again, absolutely nowhere. But his efforts have to be commended for what he did at the start of the year, picking up the pieces when Sainz had fallen. So, yeah, a big disaster there, I'm afraid, for Alex this weekend. A real shame to see him struggling again. Difficult qualifying, difficult race, no points on the board for him. It's a shame, it really is. Alex needs to really get his ideas together now for Abu Dhabi. He needs to have a solid season finish. The team have secured 5th in the Constructors now, so maybe that pressure is relieved somewhat. He's got no expectations on his shoulders now of delivering anything really in Abu Dhabi, and that might mean that he's more of a comfortable driver, he's more confident. I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe the pressure of trying to secure 5th got to him a little bit. I don't know, I really don't know, but ever since Sainz got that first podium, it's been a shift of positioning, hasn't it, within that Williams team, and it's a shame. It is really a shame to see that that's happened. Alex was hands down beating Sainz at the start of the season. Then we got to that podium. The narratives shifted and swapped, and now we've seen Sainz pick up 2 podiums this season. Alex none. And judging by how his pace was at the start of the year, I would have said that Alex would have picked up a podium as well. So it's a shame that, again, both Williams drivers cannot be up there to secure big points when they are on offer. But yeah, the narrative has been at the second half of this season, really, that it's all been going Sainz's way and not Albon's. But it's a total contrast to how he kicked this season off, isn't it? And sadly, it is of the week for that reason. 2, Alex Albon. In 12th place, we come to Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari. Disqualified last time out for poor performances, and here he is disqualified anyway, but I am more than justified in doing that. Once again, my disqualification proves justifiable. He is now only the 3rd ever driver within Ferrari's history to be eliminated in 2 consecutive Q1 sessions, joining the likes of Giancarlo Fisichella and Luca Badoa in that dodgy 2009 season, where, of course, Felipe Massa had his serious incident. They put Luca in for a couple of races, ditched him, and then put Giancarlo Fisichella in. But it was a tough car to drive that year, and of course it was a tough year for them overall. So had that season not really happened like that, then Lewis Hamilton is really the only Ferrari driver in history to have 2 double Q1 eliminations when he's had the full season in the car. You know, he's had a winter testing program with the team. He's a full-time driver. The other ones were just step-ins. This one is the only time that a full-time Formula 1 driver for that Ferrari team has been eliminated from 2 consecutive Q1 sessions. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You forget he's a 7-time world champion now, don't you? You really do. And he's already said he's not looking forward to next year. Well, it's a totally new set of regulations, Lewis. So, you know, it might fall into your favour, but the negative attitude straight away, it's not going to do you any good, is it? So yeah, Lewis Hamilton disqualified on the series as of last episode, will remain that way, but another poor performance. And I know the Ferrari's shit, but at least, you know, Leclerc can get Q3s out of it and drag it into points. Hamilton should be Q3, fringes of Q2 elimination maybe. But yeah, it is what it is, as they say. Finishing in the loggers on P13, we come to Gabriel Bartlett. At least it's been a weekend where he does not pick up any damage. That's got to be, you know, the thing that we've got to be the saving grace this weekend for him, really. It's not been a crash fest like the couple of races previous have been. Finding his feet once again, outpaced by his teammate, though, this weekend, unfortunately. Nico Hülkenberg was so much stronger this weekend than Gabby. Gabby having a difficult qualifying day, had a 5-place grid penalty as well to take, don't forget, for the contact he caused at the start of the last race in Vegas. At least he was able to pick up a solid enough placed finish with 13th, you know. But for me personally, for Gabby Bortoletto, it's going to be just 4 points. 4 points to him this weekend. Didn't look like he was going to be a pace setter at all. Didn't look like he was going to beat his teammate this weekend. I think ultimately his confidence has taken a step back after the last couple of races. But at least he's had a solid, clean weekend this weekend. And fingers crossed he can have a great Abu Dhabi to finish the year off with. And hold his head high going into 2026 where it becomes a full works Audi team. We'll wait and see. But yeah, for now, Gabby Bortoletto is 4 points for his 13th place finish in his stake Kick Me Up the Arse Sauber. And then we come to Franco Colapinto.
Hey, 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 you've been disqualified, you bastard.
And there we have it. I am afraid it has to be a disqualification for Franco Colapinto, but that also means disqualification for Jack Doohan as well. That was a dual programme this season, wasn't it? By Alpine's words, anyway. Alpine's words. But yeah, Franco this weekend delivered absolutely nothing. Q1 eliminations in both times. His teammate got himself right in the thick of the action, didn't he, Pierre Gasly? In the sprint qualifying, the sprint race, the main qualifying and main race as well. So, yeah, Colapinto was absolutely nowhere this weekend, and unfortunately he was miles off his pace compared to his teammate, and that's why he has to be disqualified, unfortunately. He's been on borrowed time for a little while now. I think he's had 4 of the weeks for quite a number of races. But yeah, he's finally come to a head at the penultimate round where I can't justify him. Especially when he's been retained for next year as well. You'd think that pressure on his shoulders has been released. But it clearly hasn't, has it? Because he's not delivered the goods this week. And I'm not saying the Alpine car is good by any stretch of the imagination. But Alpine, you know, have got Gasly there that's delivering something special these last few races. Even if it doesn't work out in his favour, like Vegas. Or here, in fact, as well, at least he's doing something with it. Colapinto was just trundling around at the back all race, and it's very disappointing to see. So yeah, Franco Colapinto, on the penultimate round this season, is disqualified. Then we come to Esti Bestie, oh God, Esti Bestie to you. Ain't like Esti Bestie, oh God. The driver I forgot even existed on this series, or anything at all, really, because I'd sent the points over to Dan, and there was no Ocon on it. Sorry, Dan. There was no Ocon on there, and he's like, what about him? I was like, oh yeah, shit, yeah, give him 2. So I've given him 2. And the only reason why he escaped a disqualification is because I forgot about him, because if I'd have remembered what he'd have been up to that weekend, I'd have actually disqualified him, because once again, poor pace, poor performance, jumped the start off the line and got himself a 5-second time penalty, and didn't really have the pace or consistency against his teammates. So he's lucky I forgot about him. He's very lucky. He was that anonymous I forgot about him, because he would have been disqualified without that. So probably I'll just chuck him out in Abu Dhabi maybe. We'll see what he does there, but I don't think he's going to do anything special. But yeah, for Ocon, another disastrous weekend. Was being beaten by his teammate as well at the time, and did absolutely shite once again. Lucky I forgot about him, otherwise he would have been disqualified, but he gets 2 lucky points from me. Thank me for him, Ocon, but I don't think you're surviving Abu Dhabi, my friend. Then we come to the last of the finishers in Pierre Gasly. Oh no, what a shame. What a shame. That contact with Nico Hülkenberg, I don't actually know at the time of recording if anyone actually got blamed for that. It was going to be investigated after the race. I personally just think it was a racing incident, though, between the two of them. I really do. And you know how much I like Hülkenberg, so if I can lay blame on someone else, I usually would. But honestly, it was just a racing incident. Very unfortunate. 2 of the B teams that have been doing a lot better these last few races and been trying to scrabble inside the points. They were saying that Gasly had lost 10 points of downforce. They were struggling with some sort of damage on the car, and Hülkenberg tried to move around the outside, which was more than fair, more than on. But like Hülkenberg didn't go right up to the rumble strip at the exit of the corner. He was sort of like keeping himself middle of the road. Then you got Gasly coming out of the corner, and obviously they just met in the middle, so to speak, and it was rear wheel to front wheel contact. It was a puncture for Gasly. It was a retirement for Hülkenberg on the spot after a lovely pirouette into the gravel trap. And that was a shame, because both drivers, I think Gasly would have faded away with that damage, unfortunately, and the downforce loss. But I think Nico Hülkenberg could have gone on to score points there, which is a huge shame for the Sauber squad when Alonso picks up a good haul of points as well at the end there. It's unfortunate, but yeah, for me personally, I think it was just a racing incident. I don't think either driver did anything too, malice or careless. I think they were both fighting really hard for the final few points that were on offer that would have been crucial to, a bit of ego boost for the Alpine squad and crucial to the Sauber squad's, of course, championship campaign. But as it was, they sort of met in the middle and it went wrong. So Pierre Gasly gets a solid 5 from me this week, and I can't really give him too much praise. He was involved in an incident after all, but well done for the Q3 appearances that he had this weekend, for driving inside the points as well in that tub of lard. And it's a shame it wasn't a points finish, and shame it had to come to a bit of contact, but racing incident, you can only really overtake at turn 1. You can lay blame on both drivers for what happened that weekend in that incident, in that scenario. And yeah, middle of road 5 to Gasly for me. Shame I couldn't give him more, and a shame not to see him inside the points once again, because he's been driving really well these last few races. He's been putting that car where it really doesn't belong. Then we come to the list of DNFers. The first on this list, and the last to retire in the race, is of course Lance Stroll. In the second of the Aston Martins, I didn't even realise he was retired. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was like, DNF? What happened there? I totally missed it, because that's how much I don't give a shit about Lance Stroll. Then we come to Isaac Hadj. Oh, mate. What a disaster. What a disaster for him. A puncture with just a couple of laps left to go when he was running round in 6th, which would have been a fantastic points haul for the RB squad and would have almost certainly guaranteed them 6th in that constructor's standings. I think they're still quite secure anyway and quite safe anyway, because it's, you know, the likes of Aston Martin and things that are chomping at their bit, and they don't really tend to have that great a weekend. But when Alonso ended up inheriting those points, a big shame, really. Big shame. Honestly, Isaac drove faultlessly this weekend, more than pissed over his teammate once again. Did a really good job in that sense. And Isaac Hadj for me this weekend is a DNF, so it has to only be a maximum of 5 that I can score a retirement, and that's exactly what he's getting. I feel like I've done him a really dirty service there, but that's my rules, and I've always stuck by him. But when it's just 2 laps from the end, and you know he's going to get a P6 finish, which is 8 points... It's a big shame, isn't it? I feel sorry for him that I've had to do that to him. He's been an incredible asset to the RB squad this season, and I thought he'd be a little bit too hot-headed. But, you know, we got Australia out of the way, where he crashed on the formation lap, and then since then he has been formidable. Yeah, we've had a couple of off weekends where we've not really seen anything of the RB squad, but that was just the driver couldn't get on with the car. He's a rookie at the end of the day, but he has really been one of the top rookies this season, if not the top rookie in my personal opinion. And Isaac Hadj, I feel like I've done him dirty by only giving him 5, but he did retire, and that is the maximum a retirement can score. On this series, it's the same for every driver, swings and roundabouts and all that, but 5 to Isaac Hadj deserves so much more from this weekend in real life and on this series. Then we come to Oliver Bearman in the second of the Haas, unfortunately his consecutive points run for the Haas team comes to a close. It was looking unlikely that he was going to pick up any points at all, really. Maybe had he kept himself inside the fight, he'd maybe, with the late issues for the likes of Hadj and Stroll, could have inherited a point, perhaps. But as it was, unfortunately, his race came undone when they released him without securing the left rear wheel correctly to the car, and it fell off as he was exiting the pit lane. He literally just pulled away from his pit box and the wheel had come off. That inherited him a 10-second stop-go, which isn't his fault, but it has to be served. It was very dangerous. Lucky that no one got hurt or injured as a result of that wheel flying off. And served that pit stop and then ultimately retired. He already lost 30 plus seconds with the dodgy pit stop there, and he then had a 10-second stop go, which is like another, 40 seconds at least. It's a long pit lane, that one, isn't it? Then he has to stop for a full 10 seconds and get going again. So he'd have been a lap down, he'd have been at the back by a mile, so they elected to serve the penalty in the race and then of course retire the car from there to save it for Abu Dhabi. So a huge shame for Bearman, huge frustrations. Maybe a stretch for points this weekend. Maybe could have got a 10th with those late DNFers. But yeah, Bearman, a big shame. And it's 4 points out of maximum of 5 for me this weekend for him. I think he did a good effort this weekend. But unfortunately, just all went away. 4 to Ollie Bearman. And then last but by no means least, we come to Nico Hulkenberg. Oh, I needed that. Nico Hulkenberg, unfortunately the first of the DNFers involved in that tangle with, of course, Pierre Gasly. And as you already know, with Pierre, I haven't laid blame on either driver, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, I should say. I just think it was a racing incident, ultimately. Hulkenberg, I think, with the late retirements that happened in the race, and if he'd have made that move safely on Pierre Gasly, we could have been looking for 8th, maybe 7th place on the board for him this weekend. So a huge shame and a huge missed opportunity for the State Kick Me Up the Arse Sauber squad to secure a good haul of points to keep themselves realistically in with the chance of that P8 in the Constructors. as it looks now, it looks like P9 is going to be set in stone for them, and that's a huge shame because I think they've come a long way this year. They deserved a little bit more, especially a little bit more than the Aston Martin squad who have got fucking donkey driving for them. But yeah, ultimately, for me personally, Hülkenberg not to blame this weekend. Would have been on for a solid points finish inside the upper half of the midfield drivers, and he's getting 4. 4 out of a maximum of 5 for me personally for his performance this weekend, and that is just purely based on the fact that I think, you know, Q3 appearance would have made a little bit more of a difference, and he retired so early in the race that we don't really know what was going to happen. But the pace and performance he had, the overtaking abilities he had, I think points would have been more than possible. 7th, if not definitely 8th, was on the cards for him this weekend. Huge shame for Nico Hülkenberg, and hopefully he can have a strong finish in Abu Dhabi and reward the team with some points at last. Even if it doesn't get them the 8th in the Constructors they're after, at least it will give them a little bit of something to celebrate at season close. 4 to Hülkenberg. So everything, guys, those were the runners and riders of the Qatar Grand Prix. Let me know down in the comment section, just going to drivers too high, any too low. The updated standings with the scores I've just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is right now. It's all hotting up, isn't it? That mid-pack is getting crazy. We have seen another addition to the disqualified pile. There's so many drivers on final warnings as well that we could see half the grid pretty much deleted at Abu Dhabi at the season close if they don't book their ideas up with one final round left to go. But yeah, it's very close. George Russell still a nice healthy lead there, but it could still all change. And of course we already know we've got ultimatums out there for the likes of Lando Norris. If he doesn't win the championship in Abu Dhabi, then he will be disqualified. Of course, Max Verstappen as well. If he loses the championship by 9 or less points, courtesy of the points he lost in Spain due to his silly antics, he will be disqualified. So there's a lot on the cards. There's some drivers that will be disqualified even without 5 of the weeks. There's a few drivers with 5 of the weeks as well. It's all to play for, you know. It really is all to play for. We'll take a look at the team standings as well then, shall we? They're also on the screen for you. I hear you all cry, where are the points, minus points for McLaren? Well, they've already got minus -1 million anyway. We know they're going to be finishing at the back of this championship order anyway, and I'm probably just going to disqualify them in Abu Dhabi, to be fair. But we'll wait and see, But yeah, I thought, let's leave it alone. They're going to be last anyway. And yeah, it's just a load of shit, isn't it, really, to the McLaren squad. They are screwing this championship right up, courtesy of technical errors and now strategic errors as well. What can go wrong in Abu Dhabi? Let's wait and see, shall we? Ha ha! A massive thanks as always goes out to Dan Bartlett, of course, formerly of Mushy Gaming, for providing me with the scoreboard that you saw on the screen, for the driver icons in the corner of the screen, and for the intro at the start of the video as well. Without him, this series would be more pointless than it already is. And who can forget Mr. Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for providing me with the of the weeks that you don't necessarily know, but you know you're going to love them. We've got one more round left. Who will be the final of the week of the 2000 era of the series this time around? Have a guess in the comment section, and I will see you all next Tuesday 6 PM for the finale. I can't believe we're already here. We've already come to the end. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? I'm rooting for Max, but you know, may the best man win and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and as always, much love.